surely that's all.
Or your very own Square One TV t-shirt.
I never dreamed I could be so happy.
If you're between the ages of 6 and 15, all you do to enter is write down one fun thing about math you've learned from Square One TV. And send it to Beyond Square One TV Sweepstakes, Box 1, 1 Lincoln Plaza, New York, New York, 10023. Be sure to include your name, address, phone number, and age, and get them in by November 28th. And watch for Square One TV on this station, because we're looking for a star, and it could be you.
Major funding for this afternoon's programming is provided by the Helena Rubinstein Foundation, a longtime supporter of outstanding children's television.
General Math Patrol, crossroads of nearly 1,000 lives, a sanctuary, a haven, an edifice dedicated to the needs of those whose mathematical health is threatened.
Stop Gooden. Relief is on the way.
Notice on the floor. Notice on the floor. There is an improper fraction loose in the recreation room.
You called?
Yes. Since you're an older, wiser Dr. Cronkite, I thought you should know that the young and impulsive Dr. Cut-Up is about to perform a decimal point transplant.
A decimal point transplant? You were right to call me, nurse. You're a credit to mathematical medicine. I'd better go and see what he's up to.
Sharp thing. Scalpel? No thanks, just scalped. Ouch.
Ouch.
That's smarted. Stand back, everyone. I'm ready to cut.
Dr. Cut-Up, what are you doing?
Hello, Dr. Cronkite. It's a simple procedure. The patient wanted a decimal point transplant. I'm going to move the decimal point from here to...
Yes? From here to where?
Actually, I hadn't decided yet, but it doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't make any difference? Do you jest?
It's purely a cosmetic procedure. I can move it from here to here or here. Who cares?
When you took the Mathocratic oath, didn't they tell you about decimal points?
I guess.
At this moment, this little dot, this decimal point, has made this number what it is. It is a potent and important symbol. It has made this number 7 thousandths.
Big deal.
It is a big deal. If you move the decimal point from here to here, you change the fraction. You change it from 7 thousandths to 7 hundredths.
Really? Just by moving it one place?
Yes.
What if I put it here?
Then you change the fraction from 7 hundredths to 7 tenths. Don't you see, Doctor? You hold this fraction's future in your hands.
I see what you mean.
What did the patient tell you?
Well, not much, really. Just that it wasn't feeling up to snuff. Didn't feel it was whole anymore.
Then you might want to move the decimal point from here to here.
Why? What does that do?
Now it's a 7. A whole number.
Thank you, Dr. Cronkite.
It's all in a day's work for a dedicated doctor of mathematics.
And so, once again, common sense and place value have solved another problem. At General Math Patrol, crossroads of nearly 1,000 lives. Until next time, stay healthy and may the math be with you.
Square One TV presents You Call the Angle. Here's skateboard champion Sean Miller with a new angle on some simple mathematics. Well, Sean uses math a little differently than we do. In each of these tricks, Sean's skateboard describes half turns called 180s, full turns called 360s, or turns and a half, which are 540s. Is this turn a 180, a 360, or a 540? You call the angle. Now, here's a clue. You were right. Sean did a 180. There are 180 degrees in a half turn.
Think about that.
So tell me about this mystery man. Well,
He's different.
how?
He says things in unusual ways.
What does he say?
Well, he says, his love is three-dimensional. It has width, depth, and length.
Could you run that by me one more time?
Like an equilateral triangle, his love has special strength.
I'd say this guy has mathematics on his mind.
He says, let me count the ways that I love you. I'll calculate the rhythm of my heart. He says, let me count the ways that I love you. Oh, and count each fraction of each second we're apart. He said his heart beats for me 70 times a minute. His heart beats for me 4,200 times an hour. His heart beats for me 100,000 times a day, 3 million times a month, 36 million times a year.
Well, it sounds like Mr. X is not your average guy.
He's the missing factor in my equation. He multiplies my happiness. His love equals mine.
Hey, I don't need any more persuasion.
He says, let me count the ways that I love you. I'll calculate the rhythm of my heart. He says, let me count the ways that I love you. Oh, and count each fraction of each second we're apart. He said his heart beats for me 70 times a minute. His heart beats for me 4,200 times an hour. His heart beats for me 100,000 times a day, 3 million times a month, approximately. He said, let me count the ways that I love you. I'll calculate the rhythm of my heart. He said, let me count the ways that I love you. Oh, and count each fraction of each second we're apart.
The story you are about to see is a fib, but it's short. The names are made up, but the problems are real.
It was Tuesday, 9:43 a.m., and I watched the day dawn in magnificence along the California coastline. Sailboats were on their way out of the Monterey Harbor. People were cruising along the 17-mile drive. I was there trying to solve a crime. For the second time in MathNet history, we were trying to find a stolen gem of great value, the Despair Diamond. My partner is George Franklin. The captain is Joe Greco. My name is Tuesday. I'm a mathematician. A mathematician on location. working on a case we had dubbed Despair in Monterey Bay. That's because a famous gem called the Despair Diamond was feared to be stolen when it was exhibited at a charity event to raise money for the Save the Out of Doors Fund. George and I found ourselves working undercover in California. The prime suspect in a number of jewel thefts in the area was a man named Archie Leach. The thief didn't wait for the Despair Diamond to be officially exhibited. He stole it from a pre-gala party.
You know what I think? I said, you know what I think?
No, what do you think?
I think whoever stole the diamond is escaping, and he's doing it in a motorboat.
Motorboat? Archie Leach came by motorboat.
With local Sheriff Mooney Rooney, we drove to the Coast Guard station. But on the way, monitoring the radio, we heard...
Roger, Chopper. Maintain your station. We're dispatching rescue vessel. Say the position of the boat. Over.
The boat had flipped and was sinking. We clambered aboard the follow-up boat the Coast Guard dispatched.
You sure you all want to come?
We're Old Salt, Sheriff.
Yeah, well, if that boat belongs to who I think it belongs to.
Archie Leach?
Yeah, aren't you supposed to be undercover, folks?
He made his point, and we stayed out of sight during the rescue operation. The sheriff searched Archie and the boat for the stolen diamond. No luck. You know, Pard, if that rock isn't at the Esther Astor Astute estate, and it isn't on the boat, and Archie doesn't have it, maybe Davy Jones has got it.
Yeah, in his locker.
In order to locate the point where Archie's boat turned over, we needed some information. We needed to find two people who saw the accident from two different locations. Finally, we had some luck.
And the boat was exactly lined up with that bell.
Thank you. You've been a big help.
Come on, Turkey, we've got to go. Oh, I have to go now.
George took our chart of Monterey Harbor and drew a line from the scenic point where we were standing through the bell just offshore.
Now, we need another person who has seen the accident from another angle.
We would use the mathematical process of triangulation in order to pinpoint the location of the mishap.
And I looked up just as the boat was swamped over.
Do you remember where you were? I mean, exactly?
Oh, yes, I do indeed. We were at the lifeguard station. Jode was using it. And it was on a direct line from the end of that log through the lifeguard station out to the boat. Hey! Come here.
We had located the spot on George's map. Now all we had to do was go to sea and find the spot in real life. It was a beautiful place to dive. The scenery was amazing, and so was the music. But we hadn't found a clue as to the whereabouts of the purloined gem. The Despair Diamond was huge, as diamonds go, weighing 227.1 carats, about the weight of 9 nickels. But in the Pacific Ocean, it was just another rock. We were mesmerized by what we were seeing, but time became a factor. We had enough air for 45 minutes and the air ran out before our eagerness to search. It was time to go back to the boat. We were just catching our breath and beginning to dry off when, off our stern, we spotted Archie Leach. Apparently, he'd been diving too. Curious. The skipper dropped a marker buoy and we prepared to head for dry land.
Nick and Nora Chuck, I believe. I didn't realize people from Omaha went in for scuba diving.
We may not be debonair, Mr. Leach, but Midwesterners are not the clods that you may think.
Oh, really?
In for a bit of sport diving too, Mr. Leach?
Oh, Nora, please call me Archie. My mother always called me Mr. Leach. I found it boorish. No, actually, I was looking for something.
Oh?
Yes, after I left you last evening, I had a bit of a boating mishap, I fear.
What a shame.
Yes, it is. I lost a very valuable piece of jewelry overboard.
What might that have been, Mr. Leach?
It might have been anything. But it was a family heirloom. A wonderful gold pocket watch. In fact, you two were diving in the approximate area where the boat overturned.
Well, we didn't come across it.
If you're planning any future dives, please keep an eye out. Ta-ta. Oh, don't forget outing on the links, Nora.
Sure thing, Mr. Leach.
I'm having a get-together this afternoon at 5. Please drop by.
Outing on the links? Thought you were playing golf.
I think that's what he meant. Come on, Pard. Let's get out of these wetsuits.
Go on. Oh, good day to you.
Hello, Mr. Steenbeck.
How you doing, Jude?
Wasn't that the two of you I saw diving out there?
Uh-huh. There are some beautiful sights out there.
Oh, yes, indeed.
You dive, sir?
Well, I used to, but lately I've been limiting my athletic activity to playing tennis with Joe. Saves wear and tear.
I've noticed old Joe doesn't plow into the waves after the tennis balls, Mr. Steenbeck.
Well, he's limiting his athletic activity, too. You know, he likes to run down the shore to the point where he feels that the waves will wash up the ball. Saves wear and tear on him.
Nora, that's it.
It is?
Come on, we got some calculating to do. Thanks, Mr. Steenbeck. You've been a big help.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Come on. Come here. Come here. That's a good dog.
George, would you mind telling me what we're doing?
Pat, we forgot to calculate the movement of the water. Even though we were diving where the diamond may have gone overboard, the currents were moving.
Of course. Just like the thunderstorm in New York. The wind changed the direction of the rain.
Right. The current affects the water, and the diamond would have drifted with it as it sank.
The weight of 9 nickels, yeah.
And I have, voila, a stone that weighs the same as 9 nickels. It's also the approximate size and shape of the diamond. Now, the pool at this end is 10 feet deep.
So?
So I'm going to drop the diamond, and you use my stopwatch to see how long it takes to sink.
Gotcha.
Now. Stop.
4 seconds.
10 feet in 4 seconds. And we were in 60 feet of water, 6 times as deep. We need to multiply by 6.
assuming it fell at a constant rate. 6 times 4 is 24. Would have taken about 24 seconds for the diamond to hit the bottom. But George, what about the currents effect?
Exactly. Come on, Pard, I'll show you.
We returned to our rented boat and retraced our path. When we got to our first dive site, George dropped the tennis ball into the bay. We watched the ball as it washed on the current. We followed it, and after 24 seconds, we knew that's where the diamond should have hit bottom. We hoped. The captain moved the boat to our new dive site, and in we went. This time, to keep close to our location, we went down the anchor line. The captain was timing our dive in his boat, the Naka'oi, which means the very best in Hawaiian. We hoped this dive would be our Naka'oi, the very best, and would find the diamond. But again, we came up empty-handed and out of breath.
I thought you folks were sent out here to help me.
We were, Sheriff.
Yeah? Well, going swimming ain't helping me. I can do that for my own self.
Sorry, Sheriff. We had a theory, but
It just didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I ain't had no luck either. Sorry. I aren't had no luck either. My people, they interviewed everyone at the party, but they didn't come up with no info.
What about the tape recorder? Could you trace it?
Nah, it's pretty common.
How common?
I got one.
Fingerprints on the glass case?
Negatory, good buddy. There ain't no diamond in the boat. There ain't no diamond at the Esther Astor Astute Estate, and there ain't no diamond in the stable. Although I did get the joke you pulled about see what the boys in the tack room will have last Tuesday's episode.
Pat, maybe it's time to play What Do We Know?
I'm out.
We know the Despair diamond was stolen.
We know that it was stolen during a phony gunfight on a tape recorder.
A tape recorder that no one seemed to turn on.
We know that the diamond hasn't reappeared. Right, Sheriff Rooney?
Look, I interviewed every pawn shop and every fence in this area. Got nothing.
What else do we know?
Well, we know that Archie Leach copped the stone.
We don't know that. We suspect it.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'll shout it to the world we do. There have been 17 jewelry thefts in this area alone in the past year, and he knew every one of the victims. Aside from the fact he was the only guest to have left the party early. And the Despair diamond, well, that just had to have left with him.
Yes, Sheriff, but the evidence is purely circumstantial. Sheriff, out of curiosity, have you ever run a thorough background check on Archie?
Yeah, but we didn't come up with much. See, he spent most of his time in Europe and South America. Although, He was suspected as a cat burglar once on the Riviera.
He stole cats?
Jewels. But that ain't never been proved.
We'll have to press on.
Pat, speaking of that, we have an invitation to the infamous Mr. Leach's home for high iced tea.
That's right. Ta-ta, Sheriff.
Ta-ta your own self.
And of course you can imagine her surprise when she found out not only was it the baboon, but the baboon with a straight razor and an Adirondack chair.
Oh, Archie, you are a caution.
Oh, Lady Astute, let me tell you how upset I was to hear of the robbery.
Oh, thank you, dear boy. It was upsetting.
Even your boat was upset. Hey, Archie?
How droll. Do you know what this party needs, darlings?
Well, I can't think of a thing.
Music.
Oh,
I noticed your music system on the way in. Shall I turn it on?
No need, really, old man. I'll do it.
Why, Mr. Leach, how clever of you. You turned the switch on from here.
Yes. I'm afraid I've become somewhat of a wicker potato.
well, your father was like that too, Archie.
Or was he in truth, darling?
Oh, yes, yes, dear. As a matter of fact, after November 1937, I don't believe I ever saw him move. Until his death, of course.
When did the old gentleman pass away?
1978.
Mr. Leach, Nicky and I will have to excuse ourselves. It has been a lovely outing.
Oh, you are much too charming to be going so early.
Sorry, Leach, old man. I've got to get her back to the castle by 8 o'clock or her shoes turn into pumpkins. Ta-ta.
Well, Pard, at least we know how the gunfight was turned on, don't we?
Yep, electronic switch and a receiver in the recorder. Pretty clever. Well, well, well.
Tennis, anyone?
Oh, not today, I'm afraid. Today he felt like a game of baseball. It's less tiring.
John, you said baseball is less tiring for Joe than tennis?
That's right.
The baseball is heavier than the tennis ball.
Yes, and this one is so waterlogged through the years, it's much heavier.
Oh, what difference does that make, Mr. Steenbeck?
Well, the baseball partially sinks.
The tennis ball floats.
That's right.
So, what difference?
The wind and the waves control the tennis ball, but the underwater currents control the baseball, so it doesn't move as far along the shore. So Joe doesn't have to run as much.
Nick, the underwater currents could have affected...
You're right. Can underwater...
Perhaps you ought to see Mabari.
Mabari?
Mabari.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by public television stations and their contributors.
This is PBS.
WLIW's broadcast of Sesame Street is made possible in part by Dairy Barn drive-through convenience stores, farm fresh products from Long Island's Dairy, and by the members of WLIW Channel 21.
This is George Page from the lush rolling hills of Virginia to the desolate snowbound wilderness of Canada.